All right, so guys, we're gonna post this on YouTube afterwards. Record the whole session. If you guys have any questions, hit up the chat. We are gonna do a giveaway. All you gotta do, post us on your IG story. Tag the funded trader, tag Forex League. We'll pick one winner at the end. So yeah, kick it off with some news, just going over what high fucking impact events are gonna happen this week.
Yeah, so I don't think we could top last week's volume. That was pretty extraordinary, but we do have some red folders this week. Not too much around the dollar specifically, some core sales, retail sales, and a little bit of the Philly Fed manufacturing index. There are some other things. We got some minutes meeting from AUD, probably not much going to happen there. Again, some other news, PPI. There might be some volatility on Tuesday from this, depending on this comes out. I would say this is probably the highest impact news for the dollar anyway this week would be this. So be aware of this. Let's keep going down though. We have a little bit more news on AUD, wage price index. Then we have the pound with some CPI data as well as the CAD. Okay, so there's some CPI coming out with the CAD. If you look at this over here on the right, you can see what the previous report was and what the forecast is. So this is what they're expecting, right? So whatever the actual comes in out, you want to compare it to what their thoughts were behind it, what they were expecting, and how far this number deviates from that, or if it's spot on, right? And that'll show you how much volume or not may appear in the market during that time. So let's say, for example, CPI came in much less as than the forecast, where it gave us a negative impact. You'll see some negative impact on CAD, all CAD pairs, right? So it's good to be aware of news. You don't necessarily want to trade it, but make yourself aware of the high impact stuff so that you could, practice good risk management, not get into a trade, or just avoid, these certain times, right? Because as we experienced last week, if you're on the wrong side of the market, or, if something is moving super fast, you're not going to have much opportunity, and it's really just going to skew your trading altogether, at least for the strategy that you're trying to stick to and stay disciplined to, right? But we can keep going through this. We got CPI, like we said. Here's the USD news, retail sales, and this is just month over month that this report is. So again, not expecting too much. However, their forecast is looking positive, so keep that in mind. But again, probably not too much from them for these two reports. Let's keep going through. We got some pound news and AUD news on Wednesday. This is going to be a monetary policy report hearing. Probably not much reaction from the market on this one for the pound. But then this one here on AUD. So in the afternoon, or well, close to night, 7:30 p.m. for us in Eastern Standard Time, we're looking at an unemployment change report coming out of the AUD, right? So the Australian employment change, and that's what we're looking at. They're expecting, actually, this forecast is better. Yes, our unemployment rate slightly higher, and then employment change. So we'll see. I mean, this is definitely pretty impactful. This is a pretty bad previous report, and then a pretty good one forecasted. So we'll see. This is probably going to be the biggest news for AUD this week. So be aware of this. All right, could be positive. Could be negative.
Last week there was just so much going on with crypto, with the election, with just everything.
It was a mess. It really was.
Looks like we definitely got some action this week. Like, guys, if you're not looking at Forex Factory, if you're not monitoring the news, absolute bare minimum is to just come on to here and look at what time each of these folders are going to be happening during the week. So you guys are just aware as to when there could be some additional volatility. Obviously, if you want to understand all of these things a bit more and paint a picture of how this can help you actually take trades and whatnot, then you should be looking into each of them. There's a lot of information on here, like Nick's going through. They kind of give you the bare minimum here, but it's still pretty effective. So yeah, definitely check this out if you guys are not on Forex Factory.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good tool to use. It lets you know, it makes you aware of what to look for, right? So even if you don't know exactly what this means, open up the file, read it a little bit, and then usual effect. So if this number comes in higher than the forecast, that's positive. If it comes in less, that's negative, and then you'll see that to some degree react on the chart itself. All right, so they're expecting us to have a positive outlook on this report, right? The previous was 0.9. They The forecast is 15, so they're expecting a big increase. So we might see some positive news. We're aware of it now, right? We can take that into our trading and, make some good decisions. We're not caught off guard, which is the point. All right, so let's move from news. Let's take a look at these charts. Wait till you guys see this. Yeah, absolutely nuts. What happened last week? And we're still kind of dealing with that this week. So let's get into it. I'm going to take you guys through my method, what I look for, and I'll try to explain it as best I can as we're dropping down time frames. So I'm a swing trader. I focus on the 4-hour time frame for the trend for the week present. And then I'll, consider the overall trend and then take it from there. So let's go jump up to the higher time frame. I always start on the daily, and all that I need from the daily time frame is the overall trend. I'll drop to the 4-hour and give you guys 2 scenarios. One bullish, one bearish, or just, we'll see. In this scenario, there's actually 2 bearish here, but that's just what is looking the most likely for this week. So overall, very bullish. Let's just follow price action. What does a bullish trend look like, right? It has characteristics of higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and so on and so on. So we're up here now. This was the last higher high we hit. We got a higher low here. Then we started consolidating. So we failed to get a higher high or a lower low. Price action bounced a couple times, and then finally took out this higher low here with this huge drop off. So the dollar is looking more bearish. As of now, we've yet to form structure. So we're going to identify that in the lower time frame, but it is looking more bearish on the daily as of right now, which is pretty wild because the dollar's been rallying for a minute, right? So look at this. We've been rallying since all the way February. That's when this really kicked off, and we've moved up about 20%, which is insane, right? So this is nice to see. It's obviously the start of what could be a very large bearish trend. So we're going to need to take this, step by step. This is going to take some time to form, and then we'll get a better idea as to where it's going on this time frame. But as of right now, this is all we can see. So this is all we can work with, right? Looking bearish, we're definitely at a lower low, or price action is still forming a lower low. So now let's go to the 4-hour and see what this time frame tells us. Okay, so the dollar, again, we don't trade the dollar. We just use this more or less as an indicator. We want to be aware of what the dollar is doing. Because again, as you guys saw last week, if the dollar has, a lot of movement behind it, it's going to drag a lot of the market as well. The dollar makes up for about 80% of all trades. So if there's some huge volume or, large movement coming out of the dollar, you're definitely going to see that on all the major pairs, and then, some others. So we want to be aware of that. And we want to make ourselves aware of what's going on in the 4-hour, what's going on in the daily, and then we'll use that, on the majors to some degree. I'm not lining up candle for candle. That's not how trading works. There is some correlation between, let's say, DXY and UJ, where DXY moves like 2 times as much as the dollar moves. But, you want to just keep this more or less as an indicator and just be aware of what the movement is, what the trends are. Okay. So like we said, we were looking more bearish on the daily. We're now here on the 4-hour, and let's just start off by following price action. Here was the higher high that we formed. Price action came down, gave us our higher low, and then started consolidating, giving us this kind of descending triangle where we're constantly bouncing off 110 support and then getting lower highs leading up to that. Okay, then we saw the break, took out 110 right here on this huge bearish candle, and then price action just fell from that point. So now we're at a low. Could this be the lower low, like the established lower low? It could be, but it's also likely that price action is not done falling yet. We could hit 105.25 and then bounce from there, and then that's our lower low, in which case we drag our fibs down. But again, we can only go based on what we have in front of us. And this is where price action is right now, right? So based on this, what would we like to see in order to sustain this bearish trend, this new bearish trend? So the first step would be structure. We've already identified 38.2. It's right next to 108.5 or just below. So this becomes a nice confluence area, right? We have 2 levels kind of signaling to us that this is a potential area of resistance or reversal. So let me just highlight this in yellow to show you guys. Golden zone, confluence zone. That's it right here. So ideally, if price action came back up, rejected from here, maybe even consolidated for a day, I wouldn't mind. All in all, formed a lower high and then started pushing lower again. That to me would say, okay, the dollar is definitely still bearish, at least for this next week. That's what the 4-hour, trend to me, highlights the best. And then we can take that information onto the other pairs, right? If I know the dollar is going to be bearish for the week and we've confirmed that, based on my strategy, then I can trade, all the USD pairs accordingly. Okay. So that's basically how I'm using this. So right now, again, looking for structure, but we are aware that this could just keep dropping, could just keep plummeting, maybe hit this level and then come back from there. Right. But this is what we got. Definitely bearish, huge bearish volume. The next 24 hours is going to be pretty vital in determining if this ran out of steam and is ready to pull back or if it's going to keep pushing. Okay. So that's DXY. Let's go over to AU, first tradable pair. Notice the volume already. Again, due to the dollar, but that's all right. We'll get to it. We'll get to it in a second. So according to my method, the same thing I want to do, I just did on the dollar, I want to do on AU. So I'm scrolling out to the daily time frame, clearing up all the drawing tools and just assessing the trend. So let's just follow it, right? We got some lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, and then a lower high right here as well. So key characteristics of a bearish trend. We got a lower high here and then we broke above it. So this is the first step in changing a trend, right? Anytime you're seeing lower lows, lower highs, and then you see that lower high break, that's the first step in changing a trend from bearish to bullish. So the only thing that we need now to confirm this change of trend is a higher low. Okay, so we can't see that yet. Obviously, this is still pushing. So we need to drop to the 4-hour and get a closer look, right? This is the start of a trend change. So it's too soon to tell in the daily. So that's why we're dropping down. And let's see what this says. Okay, so let's just start off with following price action again. Just like we did on the daily. Price action was falling. We hit the lower low, lower high, plus some consolidation. Off to a lower low, more consolidation. Came back up, lower high. I'm sorry, this was actually the lower high. This was just a brief moment of consolidation because there were a moment of fibs here. I'll show you. So this was the original fib. And then we finally formed structure here on this rejection. Okay, so this lower high formed, price action came back down, struggled for a while. Some of you could spot some reversal pattern in this. Ultimately, it broke the lower high, pushed above, and now we're resting just below 0.67 resistance. Okay, so this could be the higher high, could very well push through this as well. But we're marking up what we'd like to see. We're not forecasting, just trying to find what would be the most clear scenario for us to confidently get into a trade. Okay, so that would be AU falling, coming down towards 0.655, spending a little bit of time there, maybe a little bit of consolidation, something like, this or this here, a little bit of time, and then ultimately bouncing from that zone and also confirming the higher low, right? So that would give us a lot of confidence, and then entering long here, targeting back up towards 0.67, and then reanalyzing, looking for breaker bounces from this area once we get there. So this is a pretty good trade we got marked up. Based on just this markup, it's looking like a 3-to-1, where we're targeting 150 pips, risking about 50. This will slightly vary. These trade parameters will vary depending on where price action confirmation actually comes in. But roughly, this is what it's going to look like. Right? And my personal rule is I won't take a trade unless it's at least 2-to-1. So this obviously exceeds that. So we're looking pretty good. Right? That's one scenario. The other would be what has to happen for us to look at this chart and say, okay, AU is bearish again. We're ready for shorts. I'm confident selling this. In my opinion, I would need to see a break back below 0.655, some sort of low. Maybe we could even test this support level, come back up, and then form a lower high. Ultimately, we need structure below this level, 0.655, because this is the key zone based on where price action is, right? As of right now, if we're below it, we're looking bearish. If we're above it, we're looking bullish. So this is really, the make or break zone as of right now. Okay. Now there is that kind of third scenario where this just isn't done rallying yet. It's not the true higher high, and we'll just see price action rally. In which case that'd be very disappointing, but it would also invalidate either of these trades because now it pushes up into a higher zone. We need to redraw the fibs, extend the fibs, find our absolute high, and then reanalyze, go from there. So that's kind of the downfall of too much volume like this, is you don't really know if it's done yet or when it's going to be done. But the longer this goes, right, the higher the further this pushes, the higher these fibs are going to go. And it's just going to kind of exaggerate how much we need to pull back to then form structure. So volume is really just a waiting game. Eventually it'll present a really good trade, right? High risk to reward, could be even more pips than this, 300, whatever, but it's going to take time. So that's the kind of a double-edged sword with volume, right? It makes you wait, but you can get some pretty good trades once they do finally show themselves. All right, so that's AU. Let's go over to AJ. Same thing, guys. Same method. I do this on every single chart. And what's the overall trend? So we're here on the daily on AJ. Let's just follow it. So we saw a nice rally here up to a higher high. Price action fell. First structure forming higher low was right here. Then we pushed up to a higher high, came back down, consolidated for a bit. There is a higher low here, but we just bounced off it a couple times. Then we rallied again to a new higher high. Price action came back, bounced off this zone again, and now we're just consolidating. So we're moving more sideways now in an overall bullish trend. We've yet to really take out the floor here at 91.5 or 92 really. But when we do, that's when we'll see the trend change confirm. Okay, we're not there yet. Definitely seeing some bearish volume right now, but again, until this zone's broken, it's still overall bullish. Okay. Any questions on that, by the way, guys? You could drop in chat if you have a question about anything I'm covering. Either I'll cover it or I'll answer you or Angela will.
Yeah, well, while Nick's going through his analysis, guys, if you, like you said, want to ask any questions or even want to drop any of your own charts, feel free to put it in there. We'll try to answer them when he's done. I'm gonna go on after him. We definitely got a bunch of people on here. Just a reminder, anyone that wants to be in on the giveaway, just post on your IG story, tag the funded trader, tag Forex League, and yeah. So I'm gonna let Nick finish it off here. I think you might be on mute.
Oh, my bad.
You're good.
Yeah, I had the mic thing up. Yeah, so I just tagged the correct spelling of both pages. All you got to do is grab a video, put it on your IG story, and yeah, easy enough. All right, so AJ is still overall bullish as we just covered. I think it's time to drop to the 4-hour now and see what's going on. Right, so overall still bullish. What's going on here? Price action fell into this zone, broke 94.75 support, tanked right through it, went straight to 93, and then started consolidating. So we have quite a few touches, quite a bit of consolidation, and then ultimately it tanked. We took out 93 support, dropped straight to 91, which is that make or break zone that we just talked about on the daily. This is the zone that's holding the daily trend, overall bullish right now. So this is really super, super important. We bounced off 91, good rejection from there. Pushed, we got pushed back up into 94.75. Nothing really broke, right? We did, reject it once in the past, and we didn't really clear it or get a higher low above. So this is just a test of this level again. But we are seeing, rejection from here. So we're rejecting 94.75. We pushed back to 93. So it's kind of been all over the place. It's been down, it's been up, it's been bouncing, it's been down again, up again. So it's kind of a mess, right? So while it's between these two zones, I'm not really that interested in a trade. I would much rather see 93 support break, finally get a retest below, nice lower high, and then just clear bearish variations to enter short on. And then we can see we have a pretty good trade marked up. It's over 4-1. And we're looking to get about 175, risking about 40. But this will, again, slightly vary, guys. These are all just suggestions. It's all going to vary slightly based on where price action actually confirms. Could be a few pips lower, could be a few pips higher. All in all, it's going to adjust your stop loss and your TP a little bit. But this is generally what the trade would look like. If it was, what we call ideal scenario. Breaks lower, get the lower high, nice bearish lower high, or 4-hour lower high, and then we're short on that. Okay. The opposite, or well, the other likely scenario is that we just keep ranging, right? We've bounced off this zone again. Who's to say it's going to break right now? We've rallied up to 94.75 multiple times. Who's to say that's not going to happen? So we've yet to break 93, but these are the two likely scenarios. So just be aware of that going into this week. AJ could definitely just keep ranging, we'll see this bounce a few more times, or if it is going to commit to this new bearish trend, or well, seemingly bearish trend, we're not there yet, then we could have a short position, but we'll see. All right, so that's AJ. This is an active chart as well as all of these analyses are. So you guys can open these up on TradingView. The links are posted in Discord and Telegram. And then there's like a play button. So you could just kind of follow us, see how accurate they are, see if they help you at all through the week. They're just an extra tool that we kind of provide to you guys. So that's AJ. Let's move over to UJ. Oh man, this one sucks. This is at the bottom of my watch list. Let me just brief you guys on that. So much volume. It's honestly unbelievable. But remember what I was saying at the beginning versus DXY. So UJ is super dramatic whenever the dollar decides to move. And it moves about like 2x whatever the dollar does, which is pretty nuts percentage wise, not pip wise. So just, we'll get into that in a second, but let's zoom out. We're on the daily. We're on the daily. And overall, this is obviously a bullish chart, but let's just follow it. So we got a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher highs up here. But this is now in a zone where we could get a higher low. And due to how much volume we've been experiencing on UJ, this was able to fall this much and still be technically bullish. Look how this lines up with this prior high, right? So really this is right at 138 is really or 139 is our key zone. So how this is going to react at 139 is really going to determine a lot for us. If it continues to tank, we could see a very large bearish trend, starting. Right, and then if we do continue to tank, then we'll try to find our absolute low, go from there, find the next lower high or structure forming lower high, and then trade it as if it's now bearish. Okay, we are close. This was definitely a big drop, much needed drop in my opinion, but still technically bullish right at the moment. But the 4 hour says otherwise, so we're not quite there yet on the daily time frame. So daily is still technically bullish. 4 hour very clearly bearish. Right, and a pretty strong bearish trend at that. This thing tanked really, really hard. So let's just follow price action. We hit 150, got the initial rejection. Then we started forming this ascending triangle. So support is essentially right at this black line and also just above 145 support. So we bounced off this zone once, twice, 3, 4 times, and then got lower highs leading up to it. So that's the descending triangle, suggesting that we're consolidating and then that it's going to, push lower. And it did. Upon news, we started tanking, and we're kind of between zones now. We took out 145, we took out 140.5. Now we're kind of between these two lower zones. Who's to say it's, it's done falling yet? This might not be the absolute low. My opinion, I think it's going to drop to 137. Maybe we'll find support here, but this is where we want to look for reaction. So if we do see a bounce from there, we'll look for structure here, right at our 38.2 fib level, which lines up right with 140.5. So like I did on the other chart, this is a confluence zone where we would be interested in taking potential shorts. So this is nice because it now would confirm structure on the 4 hour and also, our first lower high after this drop. So it would say to me, all right, this bearish volume and this bearish trend is going to stick. And now we've confirmed it. So now I feel confident in shorting. Okay, so that's kind of like my mindset behind, seeing this set up. And we're obviously not there yet. There's some waiting to be done. But if this looks like a small trade to you, let me just put this into perspective. Because like I was saying earlier, volume kind of distorts a lot of things. And it could take a while to play out, but it does give a good trade once it does. Because look at this trade here. This is 330 pips. Just from 140.5 down to 137. Right, 330 pips over a 4-to-1, meaning if I risk 1%, I get 4% back. If I'm risking 2%, I get 8% back. That's pretty much a challenge at that point, right, on one trade, which is nuts. Right, and that's why it looks like a small trade because we dropped 800 pips. Right, so that's how much movement we've been seeing on UJ lately. What's the percentage here anyway? We dropped about just over 5%, just under 5.5%. That's pretty crazy. So here's the one scenario we're looking at. Again, short position. Now let's consider the opposite. What would invalidate this short position? If price action came right back up, we broke above 140 and started getting, a retrace back to 145. That would invalidate this short. Instead, you would want to then entertain counter trend trades. So that would mean a lower time frame bullish trend up towards 145, and then you'll reanalyze, wait for a break or bounce from there. Right. So you could catch a counter trend trade, or just wait for the real lower high to present itself and see if this bearish trend is going to stick. Okay, that's UJ. Again, it's at the bottom of my watch list because that's probably going to take the most time to play out. But let's move over to EJ. EJ is kind of in a range, but we'll get to that in a second. We're going to apply the same method, daily time frame. Overall, we are bullish. Okay, so we got our first higher high here, followed by a higher low, higher high, or higher high, higher low. Then this higher low was actually broken. Notice price action tanked. We got a lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, and then we started consolidating. So we went from bullish to bearish, and then we broke this lower high here, went back to bullish, got the higher high, followed by the higher low, higher high, and now we're in higher low territory again. So overall, this is bullish. We are also at a key zone. No coincidence here, guys. A lot of the pairs are at these key levels after experiencing last week's volume. So we're right at 144. Right, this is our key zone on EJ. So let's drop down to the 4 hour and see what's going on that time frame. We now know the daily is back to bullish, still bullish at a key zone. So let's take that information down to this time frame and see what we can spot. Okay, so 144, there it is. Key zone, and we can see we've bounced from this zone quite a few times. So once, twice, 3 times in the past. We've also had some struggle getting above 148 as it seems. Okay, so this is really more or less in a range. Is it a ugly range? Definitely. There could be way better examples of this, but this is what EJ is doing, unfortunately. So how are we going to trade this? Right? If this is going to continue bearish, right, we saw a good amount of bearish volume last week. So if this is going to stick, we're looking for lower highs below 144 and not at 144, like actually below. So I want to see a lower low, then a lower high, and then we're short, right? Something that can, you could spot, and there's no doubt in your mind that that is a clear lower high and that we're ready to short. Okay, that's really what, the chart or price action should be saying, according to your strategy. There should be something that's a 10 out of 10 situation that you're always looking for. And then once it presents itself, you should know exactly, that that's the one to execute on. Okay, so lower low followed by a lower high below 144. That's the golden ticket. We're ready to short on that. And we're looking to get, this to the next zone, 138. It's 500 pips, guys, which is pretty wild. It may seem like a lot, but if we just zoom out a little bit, I could show you guys that there was a nice head and shoulders here that I did exactly what we're looking to do now. Right, we're rejected, broke back below 144, retested, and then tanked right down to 138. Okay, so that's just, what's been established based on prior volume. So we're looking to get down towards 138. Again, it's about a 500 pip target, risking about 115 right now. And that comes out to just over a 4-to-1 risk reward. This will vary slightly. Again, I'm kind of expecting my stop loss to be a little bit higher, but either way, 3-to-1. As long as it's over 2-to-1, we're good. Okay, so that's the short scenario. That'd be very nice if that actualized this week. That'd be a really nice trade. But the other scenario is that we keep ranging, right? We don't actually break 144. Instead, we bounce and price action gets, pushed higher, and we'll start looking towards these resistance levels. Right? We don't know yet. We got to see. We're still looking for reactions at 144, but we know what we'd like to see, ideally. All right, so that's EJ. Last one from me is gold. This one's kind of exciting. Let me just zoom out a little bit, go to the daily time frame, and then what's the overall trend, right? So since we broke 1920, since we broke this higher low right here, we have actually been bearish, forming lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, and so on, up until last week. So notice this rally here, huge bullish volume. We started breaking all these lower highs. So this is the first step in changing a trend, right? You need from bearish to bullish. You need to break the lower highs, and then you need to form structure above in the form of a higher low, right? We're not there yet. We have the higher high. Whether this is the actual higher high or not, we don't know yet, but this is a good first step. So we're looking more bullish on gold now, but let's go to the 4 hour and see if we could spot a trade setup, right? What's this looking like for the week ahead? So real quick, we had this, I highlighted this channel, this bearish channel that we were just descending. Then we hit 1630. This is where it struggled, started flatlining, and then ultimately we broke 1675, which was the trend changing zone, right? Once we broke that, started rallying to the higher high, but notice we failed to form structure yet, right? So this is a pretty large move. I mean, since we broke 1675, we've already moved about 900 pips, call it 1,000 pips, close enough, right? That's pretty wild. Right? That's a good amount. And percentage wise, for more perspective, we moved up almost 6%, right? Without structure. So we need structure, right? To better understand where this is going next, right? Who's to say this isn't going to just collapse, come right back down, take out 1675, and then our whole long idea goes out the window, right? So we need to see ideally price action come down, then look for reactions, need the confirmation of the higher low, and then we could confidently enter long. We at least need 38.2 to be hit in order to, validate structure. I like 61.8 better because it lines up with, prior resistance, be a good opportunity to test it as support. And it also makes for a really nice confluence area as we have a lot of, things converging here. We have this trend line of the prior channel. We have 1675 support and then 61.8 fib level, our structure zone. So this is a good zone. I would very much like to take a long scenario out of this, start targeting towards 1800 again. And that gives us about 1,050 pips, risking 250. So it comes out to just over a 4-to-1. So good trade. It's obviously going to take a while to play out because we need to drop about 800 pips just to hit the zone and then look for reactions from there. Right. So this is the most ideal scenario. This is what I would need to see to, have confidence in longing this, but who's to say this is done rallying? We don't know if this is truly the high yet. Could very well push into 1800 and then reverse from there. Right. If that happens, then we just drag our fibs up to the higher high and then re-identify our, our structure zones and then play it from there. All right. But based on what we can see, this is where we're at. So that's gold. Pretty wild movement though. A lot of waiting. So these next 24 hours will probably give you a good idea as to what's going to happen. All right, so just be patient, guys. There'll be some decent setups. But a quick recap, I covered DXY, AU, AJ, UJ, EJ, and gold. And I'm going to pass it off to Angelo now, because that's all I got for you guys. All right.
Nice. Okay, good work. All right, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna share up. I see that we got some new people that have joined up. If you guys want to participate in the giveaway, just post on your story, take a screenshot of the webinar and just tag the funded trader and tag Forex League. You see my screen?
Go.
All right, cool. So we're gonna we'll finish it off with BTC. Obviously, last week was a bit of a bloodbath for the last couple of days, and then we ended off, very, very much lower than we were previously. So we're gonna go over that. We'll go at the end. We're gonna start off and look at DXY because we just do this every single week, and we're just gonna clear off some things. If you guys want to check last week's analysis and how things played out, feel free to just head over to the YouTube channel. The whole Sunday Market Blitz is posted there. You can see how we broke things down and how they played out. Overall, we had some pretty good ideas last week. Some ideas not so good. So it's just the name of the game, guys. Every single week, do the analysis. Some are going to play out, some are not going to play out. Some same way with the trades. So yeah, let's just hop in with DXY. Obviously, we've last week closed and we lost 4%, for the week, which is pretty nuts. We've been obviously monitoring this for the last couple months and monitoring around this level. And I just want to zoom out a little bit because why has price, at least from a technical standpoint, reacted to this level with so much volatility? And this is just how I personally draw my zones. I look on the weekly time frame. I zoom out as much as I can or as much as I need to. This zone right here in particular, I had drawn it because previously we had this market structure where we formed this high point here, we had this higher low, we had this new higher high, and price was heading higher, and then we ultimately dumped to the downside, right? But we had a huge level of resistance here. We had a big level of support here. We had some consolidation in this area. So this was telling me that price on both sides of the market found this range, 111 or about 112, this zone right here, 112, 111. They found this as a liquidity area, and this is, as price comes back into it, definitely an area we want to monitor. And that's exactly what we've been doing. So now we can see price has bounced off of this with a lot of volatility as it's done in the past, which isn't expected, but it's just a good idea overall is that price is going to most likely reject this area, or we should be looking for reversal. And it was really overextended as well. We had this huge bullish run, obviously on DXY, and then we were just wondering when it's going to end, and it's most likely going to end at one of these liquidity zones. So zooming out a bit, we've moved pretty significantly now back down to the downside, ready to retest either a previous high, form a new higher low, right? We have these minor kind of higher low points right here. So let's just zoom out again a little bit, and let's try to find where is the next level that could be significant. And I like to just keep things as simple as possible when I'm drawing out these zones. What I can see here is we've got some support here, we've got some resistance here, we've got resistance here, support there, support here. So obviously on both sides, ton of resistance, ton of volume or liquidity in this zone. And then even if we wanted to adjust this a little bit lower. So at this point, I'm looking for DXY, and this again isn't perfect. I can go back and adjust this zone. It's nothing to live and die by. But I'm obviously looking for DXY to push down into this zone right here. This is where the liquidity is sitting, in this area, in this range down here. So I'm going to look for DXY to continue to move to the downside. Now, considering I may be bearish, this week on DXY, or it's looking like I will be, let's carry that and let's go over. I saw somebody wanted to do UCAD. We're going to go over NZD USD, UCAD, and GU. So let's just get started with NZD USD. So let's go ahead and just clear off some of these levels here, because we just had a lot of movement there. We're breaking through things. So let's just zoom out again a bit. We're on the weekly time frame. Let's just see overall where are we at. We were in this tough position because NU had fallen to a level that it hadn't been to in a significant amount of time, all the way since 2008, pretty much. Hadn't been near this level. Besides obviously this support right here where it hit in March of 2020. So these are just like the danger zones, right? And then before that, all the way in 2001, we're down here, but that's not as relevant, or we're not going to look at that. So price came down, hit the support level, we reversed, right? Like what's going to happen now? Like where are our levels? I have a level marked up here. Let's just zoom out a little bit to see. I'm going to take this one off. Let's just draw everything from scratch, and let's just start from like a fresh idea here. So looking here, we have support here, we have support here, we obviously have some support in this area, we've got some resistance there. And then again, zooming out a little bit, we've got some resistance on this side as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a zone right in this area. I'm just going to drag it across. Again, this is not a perfect zone. We're just drawing this together. I can come back later on and adjust this a little bit more. But I'm really just trying to find the most recent areas where we found significant support. And I wouldn't call this like really significant, but it's definitely us rejecting an area. We had some resistance in this area, and then coming back a little bit further, we have some more significant resistance there. Obviously, price found support here, flew higher. Same thing in this area. So we're pretty much in a zone right now where price could start to reverse from. And we can see the trend overall is just bearish, right? So NZD USD overall lower lows, lower high points, right? So we're looking right now for the next potential lower high point. It's always nice to try to spot it right at the previous support level. That's definitely a good zone. If we bring out the fibs as well, usually lines up right with the 61.8 level, the previous support area. So this is a potential area for reversal. Now, remember, we were just looking at DXY coming back over here, and it looks as though DXY is going to continue to the downside, accelerate into this liquidity zone, and then from there could reverse, start to push again to the upside, maybe try to make new highs. So if DXY is going to continue to lose volume here, would this, what would that mean for NZD USD if we're saying that they're closely correlated? Most likely would mean that NZD USD would continue to actually push to the upside, right? Because that's kind of inverse. If we're trying to take a short here, but we think DXY is going to continue to lose value, the dollar's going to continue to lose value. Doesn't make much sense, that the dollar is then going to be stronger than NZD USD. These normally do correlate pretty well here, on either side. You can just see it from last week, push down, right? And then we can see it right here, push up. So these do correlate, pretty closely. So if the dollar is going to continue to lose, some value, maybe NZD USD hovers around this area, as DXY is still pushing down and then starts to reverse. I still overall am bearish on NZD USD just because the weekly trend is bearish. And how nice would it be to catch a swing trade based on the weekly time frame for NZD USD and then swing that into potentially a new low? We wouldn't be entering on here, we'd be going down to the 4-hour time frame, and we'd be looking for something like this. So 4-hour trends is clearly just bullish, right? We're just forming structure right now. Got this new high, had a bit of a break right there, but then never solidified anything, actually broke back to the upside, and then this we're currently at. So anyone that's on the call that's struggling with how to understand market structure, easy exercise to do is just come on here, draw out the actual trend right here, draw out the market structure, and then just hide the candles and just see, where do the things fall. You can even make things visually look a bit better. And if you were doing an exercise where I was trying to tell you, all right, identify, breaks of structure, then look for potential entries, you'd see a break of structure here, you'd say, all right, now I'm looking for a reversal. And getting into how I would actually attack trading this is, say there's a break of structure here, I'm not as excited about that because my actual resistance level is up here. So this is where I'm really looking for this to be happening to then attack a reversal of trend and getting a new trade. So again, broke right here, never solidified anything, broke back to the upside. So on the flip side, we then should have been looking for a buy here to then push up into this level. Price pushed up into this area. So now, taking this off and being on the 4-hour time frame, what do we need to have happen? We need a higher low to form. So we potentially have something like this, because remember I said this thing might actually push back to the upside. This is what we would need to happen. This would be what a trend reversal would look like. So price pushes up a little bit more, right? And then we end up breaking this trend line that forms, and we have our first lower high. And then ideally you get in over here once price actually breaks the support level, then you get in this area. So this is just forecasting, for anyone that does forecasting, because this isn't near an actual position for NZD USD. This is just forecasting out an idea. I wouldn't want to enter NZD USD in a sell until we saw an actual trend reversal. On the flip side, I actually personally wouldn't take a buy on this. And let's go over why. So let's bring the candles back on, going back up to the weekly. Again, personally, I wouldn't try to take a swing trade buy on this pair. Let me actually leave this on. Just zoom in a little bit. Because we're in a downtrend overall, we're near major resistance level. How much room does this have to move? Sure, it could just continue to ascend and actually break structure, but if we're trading according to the trading plan, we're looking for lower highs on the weekly time frame and then breaks of structure that happen at resistance levels so that we could do our swing trades. So we're at this potential area, we could find a lower high. If you wanted to take like intraday buy positions, right? Like you're going on to the 4 hour and say it does something like this where it retests the previous high point, you find like a buy signal, just not as high probability of a position to take, but you certainly could have that be part of your trading plan. So we're going to move on. Nothing really NZD USD, we just forecasted an idea. There's nothing trade wise that I'd be swing trading taken early in the week. Coming over to USD CAD, let's just bump up to the weekly time frame. So we've had some levels marked on here. I'm just gonna delete this level because I just try to keep everything as clear and clean as possible. So just zooming out again, right? Like why are these levels placed? We've got this one resistance, we've got support right there, we've got support. Look how major this is. Price literally moved up. Price literally moved up. I don't know, don't quote me on this. What is this? 10, 15%. Yeah, moved up about 10% right there, which is nuts. Off of that level. So that's obviously significant level. And then we've got these impulses where it's rejecting 5% down, 5% down, right? And then we had a break of structure and it pushed all the way up. And then on the flip side, we've got this weekly level up here. So we've got resistance there. We got like both sides of the market. Look at this move off of this level of resistance right there, literally dies off of the area, right? Moves down even more than 10%, like 15. This is probably like a 15%. I know it's like 10%. So move down 10% there as well. So we've been monitoring this area. This is where we're looking for those reversals, right? Coming down to the 4 hour time frame. So look how we had the bearish engulfing. This is the retest. Like if we were back testing this would just be the perfect setup to be getting in. Basically if we were doing like a back testing session, you'd have this right here. Let's just take this off. You highlight that if you're trying to work on, you know, what that means, and then come down to the 4 hour time frame. And then you're pretty much looking for something like this. And it looks like this isn't as actually straightforward as you would want it to be. So into the upside, right? So we had obviously this bullish trend here, and then we have this candle that I highlighted. So what the hell happened in that candle? We basically had these breaks of structure here. So you broke structure there, broke structure there, right? Broke it there. I believe we were trying to get on this position. Ultimately what happened here is, look what happened. So we had, this is all great, right? Lower lows, lower highs. We had this lower high form right there. I believe this is where we got in, and then price came up, had this last minute liquidity grab at the level, right? And then just pushed to the downside. So if we were on like the daily time frame, we probably could have recognized, or we could have recognized more of a head and shoulders pattern. I didn't bump up to this time frame though, but this is what I'm getting at, something like this, right? And then we broke the neckline and we actually retested it right there. So it all depends how you wanted to play this. Like this was definitely a really good area to get in right at this point, because you broke the neckline, retested. That's also a lower high, like 38.2 area right there, right? So that was definitely a good area. This is not as easy, what I'm trying to get at. This was not as easy of an entry to get in up here. If anything, I would have got in like here and then been in crazy drawdown, depending like where you're putting your stops. Probably just would have got stopped out on it. But this is definitely the better trade there. So, you know, what are we doing now? Going back to DXY, if that thing's going to keep falling, then, you know, the UCAD will probably keep falling as well. You know, if we're predicting DXY to be losing value this week, at least early in the week, then UCAD could make its move. Again, I don't know how much coming over to DXY, how much room does it have? So it has about 2% to move down. And UCAD has about 2% to move down. They're not like 1-to-1 correlated, but they're pretty damn close. So how would I kind of go about this, taking advantage of a move on DXY for this week? So I would just kind of look at structure right here. So we've got that previous support level. We could bring on our fibs, and it looks like entering something in this area would be the most ideal situation. So taking a sell into that area, and then once price does make its way down into our next support zone, this liquidity area, whatever you want to call it, then we'll be looking for something like this before we actually look for like a trend reversal and to go to the upside. So if you even draw out like, a trend line and just say, all right, price needs to break. This is very early, but price doing a break trends, then reverse to the upside. But yeah, I'm not taking any buys on UCAD. Just personally not in the plan right now. Like it would have to reverse a lot to take any buys. We'd have to break essentially this level. So I think this is a good zone to kind of target to take sells. We'll see how it plays out. We've got a lot of room to the downside, so we don't have to go too crazy with the stops. It could just be a 2-to-1. You could also obviously go a lot tighter, and it could be 3.5. Just depends how you want to play it. Or could it be even tighter than that, right? End up being 5-to-1. So we'll just leave it. We'll leave it like in this area. But that's my idea for UCAD. Momentum's definitely bearish, at least right now for this week. If price comes up into this area and then we see a reversal here, like some sort of bearish signal, then we'll be looking to take some sells. So guys, if you have any questions, feel free to post in the chat. See, we got some people in there. Let's see. Yeah, Kings, go to the Kings. Yeah, I know we got a lot of TFT guys in here. If you guys are, doing analysis as well, go to the trade ideas channel in the Discord, post in there. I know we got a bunch of people sharing ideas for the week. Let's see. Interesting. All right, so we're gonna move on now. We're gonna go to GU. So GU is really interesting. So let's just zoom out on this one. Weekly time frame. So this thing lost, a lot of value, right? Just pushed so far to the downside. And then we retested this area. We did have some rejection, but ultimately it was not strong enough to keep rejecting. So let's just zoom out. Why do I have this line marked here? Well, we have not been below this area in a long time, right? I mean, you guys see it. 1985, last time GU was that low, right? So we wicked that area previously, a couple of weeks ago or in September, so about 2 months ago, and now we have this reversal, but we're still in a downtrend, right? We're still this thing overall is still pretty bearish. Mind you, did kind of break a nice resistance level here, but we've got a lot of resistance coming up on the upside right here. This level is pretty major. So looking at this on the weekly, right, I'm not looking to take sells now until price really makes it back up to here. Coming to the 4 hour, this thing is just bullish, right? It's just pretty much in this bullish trend. Let's see if we can break out something. All right, so the trend is obviously we're trending to the upside. This is already kind of broken out of this channel here. But we've been in this little channel. So when are we going to look to actually re-enter on this on the 4 hour time frame? Well, this is going to be a good spot right here. Just retest of the previous highs. That's what I really do like to rely on. If we wanted to go crazy and bring on the fibs, 38.2 lines up there, we still do need to find resistance, right? We're just pushing to the upside. So I personally just wouldn't take anything because I'm trying to do a swing trade, because we just can't do anything with this, right? The opportunity was down here, right? It's not up here. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit when we get to the BTC as well. So I would be waiting for some sort of reversal again, coming into this area before I actually take trades on this. Interested in your ideas. If this thing just accelerates, which based on the dollar, it could just keep pushing for the week. There's just nothing I can do from a swing trade perspective. Coming down to the 1 hour, you could start to zoom in a bit and start to try to take advantage of like these more minor trends that are going on. Like look at this 30-minute. Clearly it's in an uptrend, right there. So you can go crazy. I personally just am not doing that anymore. I'm just sitting on the 4 hour, 4 hour time frame. So yeah, I'm not taking any positions, gonna wait until it makes a higher low. So that's GU. GJ normally correlates pretty well with GU, but as of right now, it's definitely not as correlated for several reasons. But getting into this, so GJ, let's just zoom out. And we're gonna keep these levels here. So on the weekly time frame, we've got this overall this trend. I'm just gonna amend this. I don't really like to use trend lines, so we're actually just gonna take this off because they're very subjective. You can draw it 100 different ways. We're just looking at the trend here. Clearly, it's in an uptrend right on the weekly time frame. We did have this huge bearish engulfing candle that went down right here. So let's just go to the 4 hour and like break this candle down. What happened in that zone? So we could see here this thing was in an uptrend. We had made this higher low. And then we just had a pretty textbook reversal here. So going from this to this, and then now we're all the way down here. So ideally, we're looking to keep selling, considering the weekly though, because we're always trying to base our overall idea, or at least I am, my overall idea on the weekly time frame. Considering the weekly is in an uptrend, and we're in an area where we could see significant reversal. I'm actually going to, like, my idea is actually going to be a bit different than this 4 hour trend right here. I'm going to be looking for something like this, price to come up, start to consolidate, it breaks the resistance, right? I'm looking for this thing to actually push back into an uptrend because of the area that it is currently in. This would be the swing trade that I would want to have. Sure, could you just take shorts off of the previous low and just, hold not for too long, not swing trade it, more intraday trade? Yeah, that's one way to go about it. But again, always trying to line up the 4 hour with the weekly for the best move, the biggest move, and weekly's bullish. So gonna wait on the 4 hour. This is what we need. Again, get above our support level, find some resistance after it breaks, and then look, it'd be something like this, where we'd actually want to take the trade. So that's GJ. Last, I'm gonna go over NAS 100. So this was last week, NAS 100. We were on the call pretty much right here. Obviously, you guys can see absolute madness, but we were pretty much just looking for price to come up. Let's play this forward. I was looking for price to come into this zone, find some rejection, right? Never actually rejects, just pushes up. Let's keep playing forward. Pushes up. Then we do get some rejection, right? Like in this area. So we have this like bearish engulfing, because we wouldn't just enter based on it hitting the zone. We'd want to see some sort of bearish engulfing. We do get rejection in this area. And then what happens, right? News comes out. This thing just fucking spikes to the upside, right? So this setup just gets wrecked. So taking this off. And let's just zoom out a bit. So let's take this off. That's why we went in the beginning of the call, look at the news for the week. Definitely don't skip over looking at when news is coming out, especially on weeks that we have high impact news. Now coming over to the weekly, let's just zoom in a little bit, right? I have a bunch of red zones marked here. We could just take some off just so there's not a million on here. These are the ones that are most relevant right now. We've got this resistance level, this support level, We've got support here. We had support right there. We're pushed to the upside. We are now coming back into that zone. Mind you, this is definitely a significant break right there, right? We had this like lower high form and this bullish candle just completely smashed it because of the news. But news really just continues to accelerate the trend, and the trend is overall, at least on the weekly time frame, this thing is overall just bearish, right? We can clearly see this trend is just bearish overall. So NOS 100 personally, like this is definitely a resistance level for me. This is an area where we could see some reversal, especially coming off of the news last week. So we could start to lose the momentum here and push to the downside. A lot of forecasting this week just because we're not really near any setups. So I wouldn't take this trade unless we actually break some sort of structure or have some huge wick or some rejection. Like, for example, this, you get this huge wick happen. That's a good indicator that we're going to reject some area. So we're going to look for something similar to that up in this zone, NOS 100. Interested what you guys think on this one. Obviously, the dust has kind of settled with the elections, with the news. We do have a lot, or not a lot, but we do have some things coming out this week as well. So we'll see if this thing continues to accelerate. But I feel like with the midterm elections, they wanted to try to pump the markets a bit, make it look like everything's going better than it is. And I just think everyone knows that things are just not going too well, right? With the US economy and stuff. So crypto as well.
Not really.
Yeah, so I don't think that it's like this short term, acceleration here. The inflation's still insane right now, right? So it's like it's a tough environment to reverse this like huge bearish trend right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did a good job. That's really all that we can expect is, we can write or draw in what we'd like to see and what, we'd like to make ourselves aware of, but that's what happens when you see a lot of volume. Gotta wait, gotta see more.
Yeah, that's the thing with swing. Like if you guys are swing traders, the reality of swing trading is once the move, happens, once it swings in one direction and you're at a new low or a new high point, you really can't force trades, right? You have to sit back, you have to be patient. And when there are opportunities, for example, potentially NZD USD, when you're finding yourself in a potential lower high area, this is when you have to be very much vigilant, paying attention, because this is what you're waiting for, ultimately, this opportunity. All right, so last but not least, let's come over to the dying beast. I feel like every time, at least since I've been in the crypto markets, for the past 5 years or so, every time it's like crypto's over, it's the end, this is it. That's when we start a bullish run, right? So it's so interesting with everything going on right now. I think BTC, the more, for the fact that it's anonymous and still quote unquote decentralized and it's not actually a company, right, does have some merit. We're seeing a lot of these exchanges kind of blow up and some of these coins blow up right now, but I don't know, BTC still seems as though it's a bit different. Who knows, does BTC die as well? We'll wait and find out. We're down to see what happens. But last week, a lot of red, right? Down 25% last week, off the heels of this FTX stuff. Let's see if we can get this down about 20%, 25%. So I don't know, if you guys don't know much about, basically what happened was FTX as an exchange, they were taking clients' funds and they were over leveraging positions basically to get better returns for the investors that they've raised money for in their like series valuations. They were promising investors 15% annualized returns with quote unquote no downside risk at all, which is nuts. And obviously they failed on that promise. So they got into this situation where their partnered entity, Alameda Research, that entity needed liquidity. And so FTX apparently backdoored them liquidity, and that liquidity was clients' funds. And then Alameda like bought, or they collateralized the loan by with their holdings of FTT, which is FTX's coin. So they basically said, we can guarantee that we can pay back this loan because we hold FTT. Meanwhile, FTT is, is only valuable to the extent that the people see that it's valuable. And then there was some things coming out about the SEC and FTX and what they were doing. And basically there was just this whole withdrawal, thing that happened in like a 48-hour period where about 5 billion was withdrawn from FTX and their coin crashed, and then they defaulted on pretty much, not only their loan, but Alameda. Anyone that was quote unquote saying that FTT was a valuable asset, basically defaulted on their loans as well. So it's very, very interesting. If I were to create like an analogy, it's kind of like this, Nick. If Forex League came out with a coin, right? So we basically come out with a coin and we pump it to, everyone and say, hey, buy our coin, yada, yada, yada. And then Forex League coin goes up to like $5, right? So Forex League coin's at $5 and there's however many shares, right? So there's a total market cap on like Forex League coin. It's valued at a certain amount. And then me and Nick are like, yo, we own Forex League coin, right? We're going to go to the bank. Or we're going to deal with private institutions and we're going to try to get loans, and we're going to say that we have this asset called Forex League coin that's valuable, right? And this is how we're basically going to guarantee that we'll pay our loans back. Like, this is how we prove ourselves to the creditors to give us all this money, right? And then, one day Nick goes on the internet and is like, says something, about Forex League coin, and everyone loses faith in Forex League coin. And they sell out of it and there's no one that wants it anymore and it becomes valueless, then we are not collateralized on our loans anymore. And we could be asked to pay back, the full amounts, and then we don't have the money and then we're effectively insolvent, right, as a company. So that's basically what happened to FTX, like in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's wild. Just getting a little too far ahead of what they were prepared.
This is what they did in 2008 is they used other people's they basically used other people's mortgages, and they were hedging them.
Right. Yeah, the banks were.
Yeah, the banks were. So this was the same thing. And then it's crazy because this guy was at the US Congress a couple months ago. And he was saying how bad it was that in 2008 that they did all of this. And meanwhile, this guy did it 100 million times worse.
Just in a different form.
Yeah. And yeah. With just a new version of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So if you guys are in USDT too, I'm pretty sure FTX has 40% of USDT holdings. So I would be careful about USDT.
Yeah.
Because that thing might go to zero.
Oh my God.
Which would be insane if USDT got depegged.
That would be pretty bad. That'd be catastrophic.
Yeah. Yeah. So I would be very careful because it's only as stable as the reserves and the liquidity that's behind it. If it becomes insolvent as a coin, if there isn't actually reserves to support the coin, it can no longer be pegged. It can no longer have stability, and it'll lose value. Now, if FTX holds, a certain amount of USDT, and FTX goes insolvent, or however they can't provide that liquidity, it just becomes that's a whole another conversation to have, deeper topic. But I would be very careful because people have mentioned this about USDT in the past, how they as a coin are not as liquid as USDC. I'm pretty sure USDC don't quote me on this, but there's legitimate institutions within the US, regulated institutions, who help to collateralize USDC as a coin and helps to provide reserves or liquidity. USDT is like random, very random who's behind that. There's not as much transparency. So I've always been out on USDT, just not my thing.
Yeah, there's been skepticism on USDT for a couple years now.
Yeah, and then I would just
General.
say, guys, when it comes to buying, right, in the BT, and if you're long-term bullish BTC, which I personally am, now is the time to be buying. Like, just dollar cost average just went lower. We want to be buying it more. I'm gonna wait until it comes down more into this area, 12K, 11K, 10K, before I personally start to buy again. But these are the zones, right? 3K, 12K, 20K, right? These are all the previous high points. So yeah, if you guys are not, if you didn't lose all your money, if you didn't buy up here and you're saving all your money, definitely start to buy it now, because there's a lot of opportunity as this thing is this low. To end it off, one thing that was just funny was there's this meme going around. It's like says OpenSea. It says something, I forgot what the top part is, but it's like how OpenSea is still trying to convince people to buy pictures of monkeys.
Oh man. Yeah, definitely a tough time for NFTs.
Yeah, I think long term though, if you can, I would buy some high profile NFTs, like ones maybe by legitimate artists or that have maybe a real use case, meaning they're attached to like a real, life asset or something.
Right.
Because long term, the actual concept of NFTs is actually really solid.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that these scams like go on.
I know it gives such a bad rep. It's kind of like the news for, crypto. I was just kind of accelerating everything. And I'm still a long-term believer as well. I definitely see a utility in our future, crypto and NFTs. It's gonna be interesting, but we're in the dumps right now. We'll just sustain and buy low.
We're in the fucking dumpster.
It's all about opportunity, and this is the lower we go, the more opportunity, technically, if you are a believer. But
Yeah,
it comes down. to
yeah, I agree.
individual.
Well, that's pretty much it for the Blitz, guys. We're gonna pick one winner for the 10K. I'm gonna just go on the IG. We're gonna find one person, and I'll just post that in the Discord. We did announce today. We're gonna go over a few things. This week we are gonna have an update with Forex League. We're gonna be doing a webinar. We're figuring out what day it's actually gonna be on. So Forex League, we haven't done many updates like with the course or anything in a little while. So we're gonna put out some updates on the league, let you guys know what's going on in there. And then with TFT, we did an announcement today. We're doing a giveaway. We're giving away a Tesla and cash, 20K cash. So it's gonna be huge. Like I posted a form earlier today. There's already thousands of people that filled out the form. So if you guys haven't seen the info on that, go inside of the Discord, go to mine, or I think it's in major announcements. So go in there, check it out, guys. Details are going to be sent to the people that fill out that form. So make sure you fill that out. New promotion just went live right now. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Head into there. That giveaways, all stuff's gonna be in there. I'll get this posted up on YouTube, and pretty much it for me. You got anything else, Nick, you want to go over?
No, I mean the Tesla, that's huge news, that's wild.
Yeah, it's gonna be
But
nuts.
yeah, it's gotta be absolutely nuts. Looking forward to that, seeing the winner of that. But yeah, other than that, have a good week, guys.
Yeah, and I
Good
think
luck trading.
we capped it out at 100 this week.
Yeah, topped it out. Sorry to those who couldn't get in if you're in here now, but it is recorded.
Let's go. But yeah, like Nick said, best of luck everyone in this week on your challenges. Appreciate you hopping on and all the support, and we'll catch you guys in next week's Market Blitz.
Hell yeah. Peace, guys.
Peace
Have a good
out,
one.
everybody.